Okay, we will call to order our regular meeting of council. And we do have, actually we'll start by recognizing that we are holding our meeting on the unceded traditional territories of the Hoopachasit and Sishat First Nations. We do have an agenda in front of us. Are there any late items to add from council? Seeing none. Twyla? Thank you, Madam Mayor. So if we could ask council to consider removing the scheduled delegation. There was a miscommunication as it related to the return to in-person meetings of council. So if we could reschedule that to March 28th regular council meeting. And then if council would consider amending the agenda to allow for a late item under M1, and that is to address a request from the Grassroots Homelessness Society looking to extend their license to occupy as it relates to the pop-up warming centers. Okay. Would somebody like to move approval of our agenda as or with those amendments?
Move approval as amended.
Second, Madam Mayor.
By Councillor Poon, seconded by Councillor Washington. Any comments? Seeing none, all in favor? Carried, thank you. And we have minutes from the special meetings held February 24th and 25th, 2022 at 2:30 p.m., special meeting held at 12:30 p.m., and regular meeting held at 2 p.m. on February 28th, 2022, special meeting held at March 1st, 2022 at 2:30 p.m., and special meeting held March 2nd, 2022 at 1 p.m.
Motion to adopt.
Moved by Councillor Solda, seconded by Councillor Washington. Any comments on the minutes? Seeing none, all in favor? Carried, thank you. We are on to now public input period, which is an opportunity for members of the public to address council on topics of relevance to council. Would any members of the public like to speak? No? Okay, thank you. On to delegations, but of course our agenda has changed, so we do not have a delegation today. So unfinished business, we will move on to item 1, the 5-year financial plan Q&A summary.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. So the summary has been updated after our committee of the whole on March the 7th. Just noting that there is one number, question 33, just the 88,000 allocated to the 2018 budget for the fire hall renovation. So I do have some information. I'll share that with you right now. So right now the financial plan is adequate for that work. A lot of that work is labor work, and there's no structural work that needs to be undertaken. So the fire chief is confident in that financial amount being adequate for that project. But if there's any other questions, I can address those, or we could bring that back to council if they so choose.
Thank you. Are there any new questions to add or follow-up questions from the document? Okay, seeing none, thank you very much, Andrew. We will move on to staff reports. Item number 1 is accounts. So happy to have Councillor Washington back today.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I move that the certification of the Director of Finance dated March 14, 2022 be received and checks numbered 150155 to 150189 inclusive, and payments of accounts totaling $2,096,930.45 be approved.
Thank you. Is there a seconder? Seconded by Councillor Solda. Seeing no comments, all in favor? Carried. Thank you. And item number 2, from the Manager of Operations, we have a dam safety review. Welcome.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Staff is requesting that Council provide early approval and authorize staff to proceed with the dam safety review for both Lizard Lake and Bainbridge Lake dams for the amount of $84,656.16. We are also requesting that Council award the dam safety review to Tetra Tech Canada, Inc. for the amount of $84,656.16 plus applicable taxes. The dam safety review is to be completed every 10 years. The last comprehensive review for these 2 dams was completed in 2012 by Tetra Tech, formerly known as EBA Engineering.
Okay, thank you very much. Are there questions or clarification? Councillor Paulson.
In the background or in the report, Lizard Lake Dam and Bainbridge Lake Dam are rated at a failure consequence rating of very high. I wonder if you might have some insight on that, and I really don't want to be caught off guard here in the near future, or are we 5 years out, 10 years out? There's obviously some replacement going to need to be done someday. Maybe.
Madam Mayor, through to Councillor Paulson. Yeah, they are rated very high, and that's due to determining the factors that if the dam were to fail, the damage it could do as it traveled down the valley. So that's where that comes in. And with staff in place now, we can start getting ahead of a lot of these things and make sure that they're completed in time.
Great. Thank you. Any other questions? Okay, could you speak just briefly to the decision to go with Tetra Tech?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. So Tetra Tech, formerly known as EBA Engineering, they did the last report in 2012. So there's a lot of information that they already have in place. We do also feel that the amount that they've sent us is going to be close, if not very similar to other engineering firms. And so we feel that by going with a group that already is familiar with their system, that is probably our best option.
Great, thank you very much. Any other comments or questions? Okay, seeing none. Councillor Poon, would you like to read the first motion?
Yes. I'll move that council provide early approval and authorize staff to proceed with the dam safety review, Lizard Lake and Bainbridge Lake, as allocated in the City of Port Alberni 2022 to 2026 financial plan, bylaw number 5045-2022. Water fund expenses in the amount of $84,656.16.
Thank you. Is there a seconder? Seconded by Councillor Solda. And seeing no comments, all in favor? Carried. And if you want to continue.
Yes. I'll move that council award completion of the dam safety review, Lizard Lake and Bainbridge Lake to Tetra Tech Canada Incorporated for the amount of $84,656.16 plus applicable taxes.
Thank you. Seconded by Councillor Solda. Seeing no comments, all in favor? Carried. Thank you. Thank you very much. And item number 3 from the Director of Engineering and Public Works, we have Argyle Sewer Force Main Financial Plan Amendment.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. The city has the city has 5 main sewer mains underneath the Somas River, and one of them failed last summer. And when it failed at that time, we realized some deficiencies in our processes in identifying the failure and then repairing it. At that time, we were fortunate enough to be able to repair it in a timely fashion. Unfortunately, the main again then broke on December 1st of this year, and at that time, because of the engagement that we'd had with our liquid waste management plan and the various communities such as basically government agencies and Shushat and Hoopachesset, we're able to put in place some protocols to track the flows. So when it broke in December, we're able to identify it within hours instead of days. So we're able to reduce the amount of risk to the environment and any users of the Somas River at the time. As well as when we identified it the first time in the summer, recognizing the age of the pipe, we put in a bypass so that this time when it broke, we were able to close the bypass and the sewage went directly to another pump station and through that force main, so that we weren't backing up sewer or frankly releasing or contributing to the increased releases of combined sewer overflows to the harbor. So it's in the end of all of this, what I'm trying to say is it's a good news story that we learned from our mistake in the summer and we're able to react quicker and to better engage the communities as well, that when this happened, we're able to put out emails and that and let other people know and the community about this break. And even though the second one happened in December, there are users out on the river, so we want to, for health reasons, make sure everyone knows that. With this break this time, not being able to repair it, the pipe is 50 years old. It is steel, which these days, engineering standards, you would not build a sewer main out of steel just because they degrade very quickly with the various components in the sewage. And so it is definitely on our radar for about 2 or 3 years to replace this. We're in the process of identifying where it was and the different methodologies for replacing it. When these were initially installed, I understand they actually went out with a barge and dug right across the river, which environmentally we cannot do that now, which we should not do that now. So we hired a consultant last year to look at this, who had it on their priority list, and then when we had the break in December, we just fast-tracked it. They looked at how we could do this. We would do it trenchless, so it's about 700 meters where you would dig a hole on either side of the river and then push basically the pipe underneath the river, so you'd have your limitations archaeologically and environmentally are just where you're digging the two holes. Thank you for that slide up on the screen. So we dig the one hole on Upis Acapis Way on the one side, and then right by the sewage plant, or the old lagoon, we would put the other hole, and then basically we send the pipe in between the two holes. With being able to do this, it limits so much disruption as well as constructability. So we're also reducing the impact to the Somas estuary, because that's a lot of environmentally sensitive lands over on that side of the Somas River on the west side. With all of that in place, what we're asking for today is approval for $1.89 million, which is the construction of it, its contingency, as well as an engineering cost to do this. And with these drilling projects, you have a healthy contingency, because you don't know, you could hit something underground because you can't drill along the whole length because of the river. And with that, we were asking for early budget approval for approximately $400,000 so we can order the materials. With COVID and some other things that have happened in the world over the last couple of years, instead of ordering pipe materials and getting them up to 6 or 8 weeks later, we're seeing like 6 to 12 months. So we are hoping, we've talked to suppliers and they think they can get these materials to us in 2 to 3 months is the promise. But we'd appreciate if council could approve that budget. The sooner we order it, the better. And with that, I ask for your approval.
Thank you very much. I want to start by just really following up on your comments around the processes that were developed, and just really commend staff for how this was handled in December. The information that we were able to have and how quickly it was able to be caught. And myself and the CAO at the time were able to personally have a conversation and update with Chief Ken Watts within hours of that happening, which is really incredible from, you know, how we would have probably caught that in the timeline in the past. So we have come a long way to be able to just have this flow of information and really be aware of what's going on in our system. And it was great that there was already a plan in place for, you know, recognizing that we have old infrastructure, and now we're at the point of replacing it. So although an expensive project, obviously a very important one, and just, yeah, happy that we're moving forward and able to put this plan together. Councillor Poon.
Thank you. With materials going up in price, do you think that the $400,000 will definitely cover the cost of the materials, or do you think it's subject to change, or do you think we'll lock it in today, kind of thing?
That last one. It's an excellent question, and that's another key reason why we want to order and pay for the materials now, so that we lock in those prices. They get delivered and we have them in hand, so when we award the contract, contractors today will want to have clauses in their contract saying until we order the parts, we reserve the right to increase the costs. So we eliminate that whole risk.
Thank you. Councillor Paulson, and then Washington.
Just curious, Rob, all things being equal, we get the pipe and related materials. When is that project scheduled to go ahead? Like, would it be a summer project, fall?
We're going to tender it in, I believe, about 2 months. We're pulling together the tender package for it. So we would have, hopefully, the materials arrive just when we'd be awarding the contract. Ideally, the contractor would start this summer and be able to do the works, especially in certain fisheries windows if we're in and about a stream or in the estuary working. The unfortunate thing with this type of work with the underground is they're either available or they're not. And there's only so many contractors who do this type of work, so we'll issue the tender and see what the availability and timelines are for the available resources. The beautiful thing about our bypass is in the interim, we're still dealing with our sewage, which is good. So we're not in as much of a pressure situation as we would have been if we didn't have that bypass.
And good foresight on pre-ordering the pipe right now. And with regards to Councillor Poon's comments, we just don't know what's going to happen tomorrow with regards to supply and price. So well done.
Thank you. Councillor Washington.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Rob, the existing steel pipe, is that just going to stay there? Or are we going to try and extract it, or is it just let the sleeping dog lie?
We would flush it to ensure there's no contaminants in it, and then we would just leave it.
Thank you. Any other questions? Councillor Solda.
Yeah, just a couple of questions. Back to that, could you turn the screen back to the piping? Okay, so just for me and for others who might not comprehend that, for the piping that you're changing is the yellow line, or is it, what line is it, what color is that the pipe? Is the yellow?
Yes.
And you're changing all of that?
So the yellow line is the new pipe. The old line, if you just see like south or below that yellow line, the red line is the existing line. So we're staying within 10 or 15 meters, but just geotechnically, we want to find the best alignment to avoid hitting rocks and anything hard like that, as well as any conflicts with that existing pipe, because that could be an issue for the driller.
Okay, because not all of us comprehend all that technical stuff, right?
Thank you very much.
And the other, sorry, you can say something? Okay, so all the breakages that we've had, what did it approximately cost us so far?
I don't have an estimate right now for the initial break. Mm-hmm. It was, for the initial break and the repair, it was staff. We had to order a part, and again, in this climate, for the repair, it was a couple couplers that normally, again, you might get in 4 weeks, and we wanted to get it in 2 weeks, and so we rushed it, so it was rather expensive. And then with this most recent one, we couldn't repair it, so it was just the time to identify where it was, and then video it and determine if it could or could not be fixed. Mm-hmm. So this second break, because we haven't actually fixed it, was far less expensive.
Mm-hmm. It's always nice to know what it costs. It's a good thing that we're replacing it, by all means, but for the public to know, hey, it's cost us this much, let's just get on and fix it properly, right? The other thing too is, I believe if you open Pandora's box, it kind of worries me too, you know, like what you're going to get in the end here. I'm glad all the materials will be ordered and everything. I think that's really important. But let's just go to the stuff that we have taken off now from the capital projects that we were going to do. What's going to happen to those capital projects now that have been in the books to be done?
Some of them will be moved to future years. Some of these projects, and Andrew and myself have been going through a lot of these, spending a fair bit of time looking at these and talking with staff, because some of these projects that have been around for a few years, the question is, if they've been around and they're put on the list years ago and they're such a priority and they aren't built yet, were they really a priority? So our question is, with an asset management plan, that really does prioritize what you need to do next. So maybe one of those things on the list might be, say, replacing an old valve, but is that the most important valve? Because we probably have 10 of them that are in the same condition. So if it's a valve that's key to providing water to 10,000 people, that's a priority over a cul-de-sac that provides water to 50 people type of thing. And so that's the next step that we really want to filter on with our asset management plan, is then prioritizing our existing infrastructure, but definitely revisiting out all these projects that we're now deferring.
And I'm really happy about that, because we have money from projects sitting there, and let's use it to something that's really important, like this particular project, and I believe it'll be important when we look down in the future. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Solda, would you like to read the motions?
Okay, Madam Mayor, I move that the council amend the City of Port Alberni 2022-2026 Financial Plan Bylaw Number 5045 to 2022 by relocating 1.89 million towards replacement of the Argyle Sewer Force Main in 2022, as outlined in Table 1 of the report titled Argyle Sewer Force Main and dated March 7th, 2022.
Second.
Seconded by Councillor Poon. Any final comments on this piece? Seeing none, all in favor? Carried. Thank you.
And B, I move that the council authorize staff to purchase the pipe and related materials to replace the Argyle Sewer Force Main in the amount of $400,000 prior to the adoption of the City of Port Alberni 2022-2026 Financial Plan Bylaw Number 5045, 2022.
Second.
Thank you. Seconded by Councillor Poon. Seeing no comments, all in favor? Carried. Thank you. Okay, thank you very much. Moving on to bylaws. Item number 1 from the Director of Finance. We have City of Port Alberni 2022 to 2026 Financial Plan Bylaw number 5045, 2022.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Today we're asking council to review the financial plan and then and consider the second reading. Along the process here, this was the targeted date for us to have second reading. We still have the opportunity to amend the financial plan should council decide to make any amendments or any changes. But at this time, just to move it forward, we're asking for second reading. Along with that, before we do that, with the amendment that we just made with the Argyle Force Main, and the other one is in the staff report for consideration, is the repair or replacement of the boiler at the Glenwood Centre. So Glenwood Centre, this boiler is about 50 years old and was identified as something that we needed to have as far as a replacement. But with that, we did have the plan for the facility asset management plan that we have in the 2022 year. So understanding that there was a risk for this to fail, hoping that we would have that overall facility review and then bring forward the itemized projects as far as priorities within the city. This was one that we probably would have considered, but today we're faced without any heat or any hot water at Glenwood, so the request is to amend the financial plan and use the gas tax funds that we have to enable this project to be completed. We looked at possibly limping through and maybe looking at different options, but those options would probably cost us between $10,000 and $20,000 and would not satisfy the long-term needs of the facility. So the only caveat with the gas tax funds is we do have to make sure that we own the building for 10 years and ensure that that asset is in place and useful for that time period. So currently we do have a 3.96% increase in the financial plan. With that amendment in front of council today, it would not impact the overall tax increase. It would remain the same because this is using the gas tax funds. As mentioned, the next meeting we will have for the Committee of the Whole will have the capital assets and the tax rate bylaw considerations for the committee, and then looking at third reading with adoption occurring hopefully on April 12th if council concurs, in order to have our bylaw set for taxation by April 28th before the final adoption that's required on May the 12th. So if there's any questions or further details, I'm here to have that answered.
Thank you very much. Are there questions or comments? Councillor Solda.
Just a quick comment. Glenwood Centre, I was told, was very cold this weekend, and people were cold because it's really utilized by a lot of organizations and that, and it's a big hollow building, so going cheap is not the answer for something like that. And totally support it, and I'm glad it's not going to increase our taxes. So that's a big bonus right there. Thank you.
Thank you. Other comments? Okay, seeing none. Councillor Poon, would you like to read the motion?
Yes. I'll move that council amend the City of Port Alberni 2022 to 2026 financial plan bylaw number 5045 2022 by allocating $60,000 from the gas tax grant funds to the 2022 capital plan Parks, Recreation and Heritage for the replacement of the Glenwood Centre boiler HVAC.
Thank you. Is there a seconder? Seconded by Councillor Paulson. Seeing no comments, all in favor? Carried. Thank you. Go ahead if you want to read the next one.
Yes, I'll move that City of Port Alberni 2022 to 2026 financial plan bylaw number 5045 2022 be read a second time.
Seconded by Councillor Paulson. Any comments on this? Seeing none, all in favor? Carried. Thank you. Thank you, Andrew. Item number 2 from the development planner, we have development application and zoning bylaw amendment 5405 Argyle Street. Welcome.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. There we go. Okay, so today we're asking council to consider a third and final reading of the zoning bylaw application at 5405 Argyle Street. And this is located down at Harbor Key. It's the building at the corner of Bird Street and Argyle Street. This building on the corner here. And the applicant is requesting specific uses be added to the property, and this property only, residential above commercial as an accessory use, as well as barber, beauty shop, salon, and spa as principal uses. And this is in the waterfront commercial zone, which is on the waterfront there in blue. And there's a picture of the building, and it's the portion of the property that's zoned W1 that's under consideration, not the portion towards the rear that's zoned waterfront industrial. And this property allows for limited uses. That's right, it's the W1 zone allows limited tourism and marine commercial uses down on the waterfront. And this application was given first and second reading on January 17th, and then a public hearing was held on February 15th, and no comments were received at the public hearing. In terms of the application itself, what the applicant is requesting does align with OCP objectives for the Southport neighborhood. It aligns with the intent of the existing W1 zone down on the waterfront, and it aligns with existing policy for Harbor Key and the waterfront in general. And staff are recommending that this application be supported. Thank you.
Thank you very much. I heard from a member of the public a few days ago on this who was told they would not be able to operate the existing business out of there that is a tattoo shop. Could you speak to that?
I understand there is a tattoo shop in the building. Under these uses that have been permitted, we haven't discussed this internally, with staff, but a tattoo shop I feel would not fit within the descriptions that we're allowing. So the specific personal uses that they've applied for, that's the barber shop, beauty shop, salon, and spa. A tattoo parlor just isn't in there, and I don't believe it meets the definition of a beauty shop, which is more geared towards cosmetics.
Thank you. And for clarity, that is not what was applied for originally.
That's correct.
Okay, so that's where I was I guess not understanding. The perspective was just around it being not what the request was to us. Okay, thank you. Are there other questions from council? Councillor Washington.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. The upstairs that they're gonna deem residential, we don't have to dedicate any parking. If somebody lives up there, their parking's as is, where is on their own, even during our busy seasons down there?
Yes, that's correct.
Thank you. Councillor Poon.
Sorry, I'm a little confused about this tattoo shop. So would we then enforce this new zoning on the tattoo shop?
Without straying too far from the original application, as we are past a public hearing on this one specifically, I'll just say that after this, if council chooses to give third and final readings to this application, then the owner would be allowed on the property to now do those uses, the barber shop, the beauty shop, salon, and spa. And then our bylaw department would be following up with the owner just to ensure that the businesses in their building do comply with that zoning. And at this time, I would say that the tattoo shop does not fit within that definition.
Thank you. Okay. Any other comments? Okay. Councillor Paulson, would you like to read these motions?
I'd like to move that zoning text amendment number T29, site-specific use, W1 waterfront commercial, bylaw number 5039 be read a third time.
Is there a second?
Second.
Seconded by Councillor Poon. Seeing no comments, all in favor? Carried.
And further, I'd like to move that zoning text amendment number T29, site-specific use, W1 waterfront commercial, bylaw number 5039 be now finally adopted, signed by the mayor and corporate officer, and numbered 5039.
Second.
Seconded by Councillor Poon. Seeing no comments, all in favor? Carried. Thank you. And item number 3 from the development planner, official community plan bylaw and zoning bylaw amendments for 4440 Gummy Street. Scott.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. So this is the project that BC Housing and ACAUS are proposing. Council has previously granted third reading to this OCP and zoning amendment. It did require to receive signature and approval from the Ministry of Transportation and Infrastructure. That has now been complete, and it is now being recommended that Council consider final adoption of both the official community plan and zoning bylaw for this project to proceed.
Thank you. Are there any questions on this? Seeing none, Councillor Haggard, would you like to read this one?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I'd like to move that official community plan amendment number 354440 Vimy Street, BC Housing ACAUS, bylaw number 5036, be now finally adopted, signed by the mayor and corporate officer, and numbered 5036.
Thank you. Seconded by Councillor Solda. Seeing no comments, all in favor? Carried.
I'd like to move that zoning map amendment number 464440 Vimy Street, BC Housing ACAUS, bylaw number 5037, be now finally adopted, signed by the mayor and corporate officer, and numbered 5037.
Thank you. Seconded by Councillor Solda. Seeing no comments, all in favor? Carried. Thank you. Okay. No correspondence for action. On to proclamations, and we have one item, which is an email dated March 3rd, 2022 from Parkinson's Society, British Columbia, requesting that Council proclaim the month of April 2022 as Parkinson's Awareness Month in Port Alberni. Would somebody like to move that?
I'll move that the council proclaim the month of April 2022 as Parkinson's Awareness Month in Port Alberni on behalf of the Parkinson's Society of British Columbia.
Second.
Thank you. Seconded by Councillor Poon. Seeing no comments, all in favor? Carried. Thank you. And correspondence for information. Twyla.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. So we have 6 items for Council's consideration. BC Electoral Boundaries Commission has wrote inviting public input on the existing boundaries and whether they support or wish to look for changes. UBCM has responded to the city's submissions to AVICC. Their provincial response to the submissions on the part of the City of Port Alberni, one being the detox center and another fire apparatus. We have communications from Leslie Walerius regarding the city's draft procurement policy, including a delegation of authority bylaw, and recommending additional staff that the City Council may wish to consider during its financial planning process. We have communications from Marta Williamson and Heather Merton regarding operation hours at the Echo Center. They had previously utilized that space once a month in the evenings and are looking to have that opportunity again. We have communication from Russell McKenzie, who, amongst others, are organizing a Ukrainian fundraiser, which is taking place this Saturday at the Kingsman Club, I believe, and looking for any members of council who may wish to attend. They will be identifying charities at that event that people may wish to donate to, and that's in response to the current situation between Russia and Ukraine going on right now. And then we have minutes from the Museum and Heritage Commission for the month of February.
Thank you. Any items councillors would like to speak to? Councillor Poon.
Regarding the Electoral Boundaries Commission, I wonder if we have received any information on dates and times of the public meetings.
Sorry, I'll have to go back and look at the letter. I don't seem to have it in my package, but I would suspect that they identified those.
Thank you. I did also have follow-up from our MLA asking if anyone from our council is going to be participating. So I think it would be great if we could arrange for either myself or a representative of council to participate in that. It's an important conversation. Okay. Other items to follow up on? Councillor Solda.
The letter from Marta Williamson, do we know if that has changed or what's happened there? What's going on regarding, because they were meeting already before COVID, so now what's happened? Are we just cutting back on budget?
We are not. I
Exactly.
have a response here I can read off from the Director of Parks, Recreation and Heritage. She said, as the community landscape shifts with COVID moving from a pandemic to endemic, we expect to see organizations keen to expand and return to a before COVID model, including meetings and events being held in extended hours, evenings and weekends. Parks, Recreation and Heritage staff are excited at the thought of busier facilities, and we continue to monitor how we can most efficiently provide operating hours of our efficiently provide operating hours of our city venues. We encourage organizations to reach out to staff to book. So sounds like something that we're really ready to get back to, them being able to likely use in that way again. So we can definitely follow back up with them to let them know to reach out to staff to book.
Super. And one other thing, regarding the Ukrainian fundraiser, there's a few organizations and businesses fundraising for what's happening in the Ukraine. And I've had people come up to me and say, I have a basement suite. And Sand Group, I know, has anybody coming from the Ukraine, 2 years employment guaranteed for them. So who do they contact? Do we have that information? Like if they want to sponsor somebody, I actually told them to call the provincial government and get more information, or churches might. So I don't know
Yeah,
if
that's a
we
great
have
question.
anything.
Twyla, do you know if there is any specific place they're able to?
My advice on that would probably be the federal government. They're the
Yeah.
ones that are going to have to, enable Ukrainian citizens to potentially come to this country in a variety of ways. And I know it sounds like, it's a rapidly changing situation, but I think the federal government is doing that. So I would say the MP, as far as locally, to get advice on how a sponsorship or that sort of thing that might occur.
Super. I told them to reach out both governments and go from there. That's my Ukrainian background. So there you go.
Thank you. Wondering if any members of our council are available this Saturday to attend this event on council's behalf. Either I'm out of town on Saturday.
I could go
Councillor Sol.
later, about 6 o'clock, Madam Mayor.
I should be available too, if I get the information.
So maybe we'll ask staff to arrange.
Sure, and
That
if you could let
works.
them know, I'll be there right after
Yeah.
work,
Okay.
which is about
Thank you.
6.
Perfect. Councillor Paulson.
Just a couple of comments. UBCM, in particular, the section on extending the life of fire apparatus. I'm happy to see that at least there's going to be a facilitated meeting with the fire underwriters survey. I don't know if it's going to get us anywhere, but hopefully that process will prove to show some fruit. With regards to Mr. McKenzie's letter, there's a couple of people in the community that we've reached out. I phoned the Canada World Youth Centre in Toronto and just trying to track down some of the students that were here in 2009 and 2010. And Russell would be a good contact because he was the project supervisor at that time. But I know that our Director of Economic Development has also sent an email to Canada World Youth, just trying to get a roster, and there are some confidentiality rules in place that we have to be aware of. But first of all, we'd like to find out where those students are. They're not students anymore, but to see if they're okay. And further on the Sand Group, they've actually offered housing and work for up to 100 families to come to Port Alberni to relocate through this tragedy. So that's a pretty significant commitment as well. So there's lots of work going on, lots of concern about Canada World Youth. I was close to the Ukrainian group because they were significantly involved with the World Under-17 Hockey Championships when they were here, so got a chance to work with them. Anyway, just some comments.
Thank you, Councillor Paulson. Any other comments? Okay, seeing none, would somebody like to move receipt of the correspondence for
Yes, I'll
information?
move receipt of correspondence.
Thank you. Moved by Councillor Poon, seconded by Councillor Solda. All in favor? Carried. And no report from in camera. Any items councillors would like to highlight for council reports? Councillor Haggard.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I don't know if the public has noticed, but I have been away for the last 3 meetings, and I'm very happy to be back here. I know it's hard to believe, but I really miss the people in this room. I was lying in the hospital going, I miss everybody so much. But I just really want to recognize the medical community for their hard work and their dedication. They really do go above and beyond and to help people, and they've really helped me, and they've really stepped up when I felt like I had nobody and was all alone. Somebody was always there for me. So thank you to the medical community.
Thank you, and we're so happy to have you back. Okay, seeing nothing else. Then on to new business, and we had one late item added, extension of license for the Grassroots Society. Twyla.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. So just late last week, we had the operator reach out to myself and requesting an extension to the license to occupy that council granted to the Grassroots Homelessness Society to operate pop-up warming centers. You will recall that council authorized that agreement, and it kicked off in October of last year. It's scheduled to expire on April 15th. They'd like to extend by another 30 days. That would take them to May 15th of 2022. We are still experiencing some inclemental weather, and it's been successful. Just want to let council know we only received one communication that was expressing some concerns with the center popping up, and that was just due to the winter, the extreme amount of snowfall we experienced, and their trailer ending up with a flat tire, and they couldn't move it because, as you will recall, the requirements of the agreement have them set up that they have to disembark and take everything away by 8 o'clock the following morning. So at this point, if council is willing to entertain an extension based on this verbal update, feel free to do so. Otherwise, staff could provide a report at your next meeting for formal consideration for the request.
So moved, Madam Mayor.
Thank you. Moved by Councillor Paulson, seconded by Councillor Solda. Any comments? Councillor Poon?
Can I just be reminded, where's the location that they're using right now?
Twyla?
Thank you. So locations are Tidebrook Park and then property that the city owns on 4th Avenue.
Thank you. And I just want to say, I think the Grassroots Society is doing great work right now, finding just, different ways to reach out to members of our community who are at risk in new ways and in new locations. And we are fortunate to have them alongside others working in the community. So on the motion to extend, all in favor? Carried. Thank you. We'll move on to question period, which is an opportunity for members of the public to ask questions of council. Welcome.
Hi, my name's Joseph Laskosic. I live at 4381 Princess Road. Just a couple questions that arose from today's presentation regarding the pipe for our sewer. I don't know that much about it, but I know when you're building a house, you look at your plans, you can take it in and do what's called a takeoff, or materials takeoff from that. That can be pre-ordered, and the builder, whoever the contractor is in that's hired then to do the work, comes on site, the materials can be there, so that's already been done. With something like this, I know it said that it hasn't been gone out yet to find out who will do that work, and some contractors actually supply the material, so when they're hired, once that's decided who does it, they look after all of that. And I'm just curious, they're pre-ordering all of this in advance. Sounds like a great idea, but are there contractors that would have their own source that might be doing that instead of having stuff pre-purchased? That was just a question that arose from that, and I know sounds like that's probably the way it has to be done, is pre-order everything, and then the contractor comes in and uses the materials. So that's one question. The other question is, a lot of communities, infrastructure is a huge issue with a lot of them. It's a big expense. And is it possible for a grant or an application for a grant on this sort of thing? And I'm just curious if that might be a part of the solution for finance. And that's just those two questions. Thank you.
Thank you. Scott, do you want to first speak to grant and if this is the type of thing that would typically have a grant opportunity? And then I'll get Rob to answer the rest.
I wouldn't think there'd be very many grant opportunities for those kinds of things. And I would say This is a project that needs to be done in a timely manner as soon as we potentially can. And, you know, often grants take a substantial amount of time to submit, apply, and hear about. And Rob can probably answer the second question better than I, but because we've done the design, I think the material's already chosen and selected. It's not like a contractor would choose different types of materials, but Rob could probably answer that better than I.
I'd say on the grant, our time frame is too short. Most grants take months for them to commit to, and also any costs that you incur before the grant is awarded, a lot of times then you can't actually expense those. So a grant would be very challenging. For the materials, is the reason we're here now is the contract or the consultant has actually brought the design to a certain point, talked to contractors about constructability, and so we are identifying what the materials are. So they are the materials that the contractor has to use. If another question, and I reading between lines, is would the contractor get a better price if they ordered it? Some contractors, if they order a lot of the same type of pipe, might get a better discount. But again, the risk of the cost increase over the coming months compared to saving 1 or 2% in material cost is far greater. So it's in our benefit to order the pipe now.
Thank you very much, Rob, and thank you, Joseph. Okay, seeing no other questions from members of the public, would somebody like to move adjournment? Moved by Councillor
Second.
Solda, seconded by Councillor Poon. All in favor? Carried.